What does success look like for the Cleveland Browns in 2025? We're going to talk about that here today. I'm going to talk about their 2025 NFL draft class, which I think is fascinating, encouraging, exciting. It's an interesting situation in Cleveland. There's no question about that. So we're going to dive into it, focus this thing a little bit on the 2025 NFL draft and then what to expect, what does success look like for these Browns in 2025. So first off, they started the draft with a massive bang. You know, the Jaguars, who I cover and root for. See the hat? Duval. Traded up from 5 to 2 with the Cleveland Browns, selecting Travis Hunter. I liked the trade for both sides a good bit. I really did. You know, the Jaguars making that aggressive, bold move to go up and get the best player in the draft. And if he is the player on both sides of the ball that many, including myself, think he can be, maybe Cleveland does look back at this one and think about what could have been, right? With Travis Hunter in a Browns uniform. Maybe. But they got themselves quite a haul, right? They got the 5th pick. They got a pick in the 2026 NFL draft in the first round. So they're set up well for the future with 2 first-round picks next year, right? And then at 5, you land Mason Graham. I love Mason Graham. I think putting Mason Graham on the same defensive line with Myles Garrett and some of the other guys they have up front is exciting. I really do. I mean, I think Mason Graham has like easy Pro Bowl potential. Imagine him and Myles Garrett lined up next to each other rushing the passer. They're both good run defenders, right? You've got other guys too that you can get excited about up front. Like Malik Collins comes in. He's a pretty good player. Mike Hall Jr. I'm hoping can develop because he's a really talented guy. Keep his head on straight. They brought in Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who's going to be, hopefully a, second go round with a new team, have a little bit more success. But Shelby Harris is still a good player. Got Julian Okwara, Oba Okoronkwo, Isaiah McGuire. There's a lot of talent up front, but it's definitely headlined by the best player in the business at defensive end, Myles Garrett, and then the number 5 overall pick, Mason Graham. Big fan of both of those dudes. Obviously, I mean, everybody loves Myles Garrett, but I'm a huge fan of Mason Graham too. So love that. Absolutely love that for the Browns. I think that the defensive front can be really good. Really, really good. One of the best in the league. I think that Carson Schwarzenegger at 33 was a very good value. I had him valued in the top 32, in the 20s, maybe even in teens. I can't remember exactly. I love Carson Schwarzenegger. He was my linebacker 1, off-ball linebacker 1. And unbelievable coverage player, extremely smart player, sound tackler. Needs to develop a little bit when it comes to, block deconstruction, not getting eaten up at all by some of these big guards on the interior, but a lot of linebackers have to develop in that regard entering the NFL. He has traits that can help you have one of the best linebacker cores in football, combined with a defensive front that features Mason Graham and Myles Garrett, right? You have JOK, hopefully can get back healthy soon, right? Carson Schwarzenegger, Jordan Hicks is a good football player. Jerome Baker is a good football player, right? So this linebacker group, even without JOK, can be very good. You add JOK back, and now you could have one of the most athletic and just best all-around linebacker groups in football. So I love your first 2 picks here. Love them. Love getting a first-round pick in 2026. So you have 2 firsts. At 36, I thought Quinshon Judkins was a little early. Yes, he can be a battering ram. Yes, he is explosive. Yes, he can be a good running back. I thought it was a little early. But, good football player. You lose Nick Chubb. So you have Quinshon Judkins. You have, and 36 is another pick you picked up in that trade with the Jags. Quinshon Judkins, Jerome Ford. You also add Dylan Sampson in the 4th round. So your running back room, it has a lot of talent. Sampson, talented guy. Judkins, talented guy. Neither of them were like my favorite back in this class, but let's be real. This running back class was loaded. So if you look at them and take them out of this class and just put them in the context of like a normal class, I think, yeah, I really like both of them. I absolutely do. So you have a stable of backs to try to replace Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford, Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson. Nick Chubb at his best was one of the best running backs in football, maybe the best. So not going to be easy, but you've got guys, talented guys to come in and try to get the job done. Your next pick, 67 overall, Harold Fannin Jr. I like that a lot. I like thinking about Harold Fannin Jr. and David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy on the field all at the same time. The different things you can do offensively. I still don't think this is like a great group of offensive weapons. I like Jerry Jeudy a lot. Outside of that, at receiver, you don't have a ton. Like, I'm not banking on Deontay Johnson. I think Cedric Tillman can continue to develop a little bit, but, you know, it's not the most impressive group in the league. That's for sure. You look at really what is, I said, fascinating, interesting, confusing about this draft class. Taking Dylan Gabriel at 94, I thought was way early. I thought he should have been a day 3 pick. And now I like Dylan Gabriel as like a long-term backup option. He's obviously a lefty. He doesn't have the biggest arm, but he's got a lot of smarts. He's accurate with the football. He can be a little mobile for you. Taking him at 94 is odd. Taking him at 94 and then taking Shedeur Sanders at 144 is extremely odd. I don't know what to make of it. Because theoretically, your goal is, with those 2 first-round picks next year, to land your franchise quarterback. Theoretically. That's like when they made that trade back, that's what I was thinking. Okay, load up on talent this year and then go get your quarterback next year in the first round. But instead, they invested a 3rd and a 5th in young quarterbacks. And I think Shedeur Sanders should have come off the board way before Dylan Gabriel. So that whole thing is a little confusing for me. I like the draft class a lot overall in terms of just like the talent that they brought in. I think they brought in a lot of really talented guys. I think that they, obviously got value with adding a first-round pick next year. But again, if Travis Hunter ends up being what we think Travis Hunter can be, you're going to look back and kind of wish he was on your football team potentially. Now, they did not address the offensive line in the draft. An offensive line that, lost Jedrick Wills, which obviously isn't looked at as a huge loss, but you lost your starting left tackle. Jack Conklin, playing very well, has been very injury prone throughout his career, up there in age, Joel Bitonio, Ethan Posich, Wyatt Teller. Okay. I can see a path, but I worry a little bit about DeJuan Jones. I'm not 100% sold on him being your starting left tackle long term. I do like adding Tevin Jenkins a lot. I like adding Cornelius Lucas as a backup at tackle a lot. I think Tevin Jenkins is a starter in this league. I honestly do. So it could work out with the offensive line. At quarterback, you got Joe, you got Kenny, Dylan Gabriel. What does success look like for this offense? And one of the other things is, I think Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry absolutely deserve to have their jobs. And Jim Schwartz, right? I like them a lot. I like this group. They have not had enough success. Team success. A lot of that goes back to the Deshaun Watson trade. What was Kevin Stefanski's role in that trade? What was Andrew Berry's role in that trade? I know that ownership has kind of taken that one on the chin. If that's legitimately the truth, then yes, keep Andrew Berry, keep Kevin Stefanski, let them build this thing out. Because I do think Andrew Berry has done a good job building the roster overall, especially when you look at the defense side of the ball. And I think Kevin Stefanski has gotten more out of less, especially from a quarterback perspective, for a while. So and Jim Schwartz is one of the best defensive coordinators in the business. I'm good with the group they have, but I'm hopeful that the expectation is not the playoffs this year. Because I mean, you look at like Super Bowl odds, playoff odds, the Browns are nowhere near in terms of what the betting markets and analysts think. They're nowhere near playoffs or, you know, competing for a division title. So I would hope that there's some grace with this regime this year. I would hope that they have their jobs next year no matter what happens. Because I honestly think success for the Browns looks like your young guys that you drafted this year on the defensive side of the ball, Mason Graham, Carson Schlesinger, show a lot of development, show a lot of promise. That your defense honestly plays up to the level that they can. Because I think that they are talented across the board defensively. Denzel Ward, one of the best corners in football. Grant Delpit, very good. Ronnie Hickman can play. If you need to get Rayshon Jenkins, DeMonte Casey in the game, you can do that. Martin Emerson needs to get back into form. Greg Newsome, very good football player. Again, I think you look at the front. I think you look at the linebackers, the defensive backfield. Again, hopefully getting JOK back. Jim Schwartz dialing it up. This can be a good group that is very competitive. Can the offense be competitive? That's tougher to answer. And honestly, my goal would be to find out if Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders can be our starter moving forward. Because if you walk away from 2025 and you have the answer at quarterback, or you feel like you have the answer at quarterback, which to me is much more likely Shedeur Sanders than Dillon Gabriel. I thought Shedeur Sanders should have been the second quarterback taken in the draft. Now you can look and say, man, we got 2 first-round picks. We got all our picks in rounds 2 through 5. We got some extra picks later on day 3. We can really reshape this roster in a major way and add the best possible talent that we can, hopefully to the offensive side of the ball in a lot of situations. Receiving talent, maybe some offensive linemen, depending on how DeJuan Jones plays. But, I think success is identifying a quarterback of the future this year on your own roster. Hopefully it's Shedeur. Or if you're a Browns fan, just hopefully it's one of them, Dillon or Shedeur. But I think it's more likely Shedeur. Playing really good defense, keeping this regime in place. I think Kevin Stefanski is a great coach. I think Andrew Berry is a bright general manager. Just the move to go get Deshaun Watson still kind of haunting this organization. The worst move I can remember in the NFL ever. You got to go way, 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 way back to consider anything nearly that bad. Honestly. It's tough to stomach. But developing your young guys while keeping your veterans like Myles Garrett engaged, playing sound, good, aggressive defense, and finding out if you have a quarterback on your roster. And the good news is if Shedeur or Dillon don't feel like they're that guy for you, you do have the ammunition to go get your guy next year. There's a lot of potential in next year's class at quarterback. I think the only surefire guy is the guy that most people think isn't going to come out, which is Arch. But if you were able to somehow land Arch Manning, that dramatically changes everything. It does. So figure out what you've got in Shedeur and Dillon. Play good defense. Try to develop your young guys. See if DeJuan Jones can be that tackle of the future. Get Mason Graham and Carson Schlesinger cooking as rookies. Keep Myles Garrett and some of these other veterans engaged. And move forward. I don't think the expectation should be playoffs. I don't think the expectation should be that this regime should be fired if they don't make the playoffs. I think it's just kind of a year in which you're trying to figure things out, honestly, in Cleveland. And that's okay. I know Browns fans don't want to hear that probably. Maybe ownership doesn't want to hear that. But to me, this is not a roster you look at and say, man, we really need to be making the playoffs. It's a roster you say, let's figure out what we've got. Let's keep our vets going. Let's try to be as competitive as we can week in and week out. And if we've got a quarterback on the roster we feel good about, that's great. If not, we can move on in 2025 or 2026 and go get a franchise caliber quarterback that we believe in. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.